All right, I borrowed the Wayback Machine from the Stuff You Should Know guys, and we're going to hop in it and we're going to travel back to around the first century. And one of the things we'll discover is this lonely scholar sitting quietly in his study, dutifully editing Aristotle's manuscripts. And he edits the manuscript titled Physics. And then he comes across a manuscript that Aristotle wrote after he wrote Physics that has no title. And so the scholar says, well, I got to slap a title on this thing. What should I call it? And he decided, well, I'll just call it Metaphysics because meta means after physics. So here's physics, and then here's the manuscript he wrote after physics called Metaphysics. But this term is still useful to us because it's referring to questions about reality that still exist after our science friends have done their job collecting facts through data collection, using the scientific method, gathering information, using our sense organs about material reality, and sharing this with us. There may still be questions that remain. And if they are, this is the branch of philosophy that is going to ask and try to answer them. So the goal here is for each of us to come to some conclusions about what we think the nature of reality is. We know what Socrates thought it was. We know what Plato thought the nature of reality was. They thought it was structured in multiple dimensions, that there were some things that were more real than others, and that the things that we think are most real, the material things in the world around us, like iPad cords, they're just representations of some pure perfect idea that exists in the intelligible realm of reality that's actually more real than the material world that we live in. Okay? So we want to figure out our own metaphysics. And the concerns are these. What exactly are we referring to when we use this word reality? Is it a place? Is it a time? Is it a mindset? Or is reality kind of like the matrix that we're kind of plugged into the matrix through all of our sense organs? What's the nature of this reality? How do things seem to be structured? Does change actually occur? Does motion occur? We saw Zeno, Parmenides, they made this argument that reality isn't as it appears to be. It looks like things are moving, but motion is actually a logical impossibility, they argued. And they would have said, when you used to go to old school movies and had the film reel in the back that was spinning around really fast, you looked at that screen and you thought, well, I can see moving image. It's a motion picture. And then Parmenides would kind of laugh at us and say, well, that's what it looks like, but you're really just seeing a bunch of still images moving very fast. There's nothing really moving at all. And maybe, Parmenides, Zeno would suggest, the world we live in is kind of like that. Which raises this question, is there a difference between the way that things appear and the way things actually are? Is the world as we know it the way the world actually is? And what questions are there, if any, that are going to be unanswered after science has done all of its work? Can science answer questions like, do you have a spirit? Do you have a soul, a psyche, a mind? Do you have free will? Is free will a thing that exists in the universe? So these are the kinds of questions we're going to start to explore. And the goal, again, is for you to come to your own conclusions about the way you think reality is structured. Now, a good place to begin is with an inventory of some of the things that you believe about reality and your experience of it that you believe are true. And we'll talk about that inventory on the discussion board. I'm in my inventory of ideas about reality. One is I believe the physical world out there is roughly similar to the ways that I experience it and perceive it. I don't operate from the assumption that I'm dreaming or hallucinating at any given moment. I don't think I'm plugged into the matrix, but there's no way to prove those things. I can't prove to you that I'm not dreaming right now, because oftentimes when I'm dreaming, I don't know that I'm dreaming. So maybe this is one of those moments right now. I'm dreaming I'm making a YouTube video. This is getting weird. I'm dreaming I'm making a YouTube video, but there's actually I'm asleep right now. I just don't know it. I've even had dreams where I wake up for dreams in the dreams. But on a day-to-day basis, I operate from the assumption that I'm not having that experience, that I'm sitting here right now looking at sun shining on a fern in my backyard, and I think that that fern in some way exists roughly similar to the way that I'm seeing it right now. I want to believe that when we die, that's not just it. I'm not yet as enlightened as Socrates, who said, who cares? Live, die, doesn't matter. So I want to believe that in some way we continue on. I'm not exactly sure what that way is, and I'm not entirely confident that we do. But it's something that I want to believe about reality. I want to believe that my significant other loves me and is faithful to me. There's no way for me to get inside her head or body and be able to directly access the emotions that she experiences that are related to me. All I get to see is the behavior that seems to represent what looks to me like love for me, faithfulness to me. But there's no way for me to verify any of that with 100%. It'd be nice to believe there was some kind of God that intervened in the world. That'd be cool. It seems like it'd be cooler than a universe where there was no God that, did anything, that we're all just a bunch of meat machines randomly flying through the universe with a bunch of other rocks getting ready to crash into the sun, and it all has no meaning or purpose. I want to believe that life does have some kind of meaning or purpose. I'm not exactly sure what that is yet, but I want to believe that it does. I want to believe that the universe conforms to the laws of physics or logic. I want to believe that because I want to believe that the things that I do and the decisions I make and the thoughts that I have make sense, that they're roughly correlated to the way that the universe seems to operate. I want to believe that logic is kind of a feature that's woven into the fabric of reality somehow, which is kind of an odd metaphor because it implies that reality is physical. And really importantly, I want to believe that my sense of myself is roughly accurate. It would kind of suck to realize that I'm really much more of a tool than I think I am. I want to believe that, oh yeah, you are a charitable, interesting, kind, generous person. I would hate for me to actually be different than I think I am, have that kind of narcissistic personality disorder. And of course, all of these questions may be taking place in the cave, right? That's the challenge here, is how do we determine which of the beliefs that we have about reality are actually roughly correlated to the way reality is, and which beliefs we have that are more like those shadows on the walls. They're just illusions, but not really real. So what we need to do is start creating our inventories like this. What are some of the things that we are pretty certain are true? What are some of the things that we hope are true about reality? And what are some ideas we've heard about reality that we don't have good reason for believing are true, or that we think are false? So that's kind of what you want to start thinking about. What is your inventory? What exists and how does it exist?